Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the second episode of the IIIE School of Economics Alumni Interview Series. My guest today is Mr. Rashid Ahmed, who was my senior at the university by 1 year. I went to the university in 1986 and Mr. Rashid Ahmed went there in 1985. He is a proud member of what is known as 85 Wallas. We call him Rashid Qasuri with all our love. Assalamu alaikum, Rashid Bhai.
Wa alaikum assalam, Dar Sahab.
Can you please tell us what have you been doing since you left the university in 1990?
Thank you for having me on this forum. So I left in 89 and then I landed in Planning Commission. And I worked like a couple of years as a planning officer. And Dr. Shaukat Niazi was my chief at that time. So after that, in March 1994, I just joined in Income Tax Department, FPR, and I worked almost 18 years in the various capacities, right from Deputy Commissioner to Deputy Director Audit, and so on and so forth. In 1911, my whole family got immigration to US. Then I have to join with them because kids were so small, so I have to take care of them. So I was compelled to move along with them. So that's my very short description.
I think like so many of us, we attended International Islamic University, Islamabad, and the circumstances took us to various countries in the world.
Yeah.
Myself, I'm sitting here in London and you are in wild Texas.
When I moved to Texas, I find almost similar environment in Texas. Almost temperature is the same as we have in like Lahore, Bahawalpur area. In summer season, temperature is very high. It goes into like in 90s Fahrenheit, 95 or up to 100 Fahrenheit. And in cold, in winter season, sometime it dropped down to sub-zero level. I feel very comfortable. I feel at home while residing in Texas.
Excellent. I believe you came from Qasuri and you spent 4 or 5 years in Islamabad as a student.
Yeah.
I would like to ask this question everyone from the earlier members of alumni. How come you landed at Islamic University, given that those days no one knew about the university, I believe?
A very interesting question. Basically, my story is a little bit unique story. I matriculated in the town called Kotra Kishan. I was high school. After matriculation, I just joined the college and I did my FSC pre-engineering because I was trying to get into engineering college. But unfortunately, I could not get enough marks to go into the engineering college. So after that, I was just looking around and just thinking over various options. One of my childhood friends, one day he came to my home and he told me there is a new university set up by the Saudi government with the sponsorship also under the Faisal Mosque. And the requirement, if you have a little bit knowledge of Arabic, so you can easily be accommodated in that. I flatly refused. He persuaded in a way that finally I decided to venture into that project. So one day, it's very interesting. One day, I took him along with me and we went to Rawalpindi, and we have one our common friend. He was in military account, and we reached there. I still remember the area was a Dhok Chiragdi. So we
Right.
spent a night over there, and next day he guided us how to go get into the van and go to the Faisal Mosque. So we walked down to the Mareed Chowk. I still remember, and we ride on the bus, a van. Yeah, it was number one or two. I don't know what number was there. So anyway, we ride on the van while we were passing through Murray Road. So my feeling was like that it's the same as Lahore. There's no much difference between Lahore and Rawalpindi. Same kind of mess, same kind of traffic, and same kind of noise pollution, everything like same. So and frankly speaking, I did not feel any difference between like Murray Road and the Multan Road of Lahore. So
Right.
the moment we passed that Faizabad, all of a sudden, whole scene flipped. So I was mesmerized by that kind of like the roads were very clean, traffic was in order, both sides of road was covered with flower beds. So it looked like I'm in a different world, and I was just wandering through different roads and like just Alice in the Wonderland. It was so beautiful. I don't know how many hours or how many minutes we just go through Islamabad. I was totally like lost in that scene. Finally, the van dropped us in a Faisal Chowk because after that there was no road up to this Faisal Mosque, and we just start walking through like a side road which leads to the Faisal Mosque. It's in front of E7. So we entered in the Faisal Mosque reception area, and there was only one person sitting in a reception area. We approached him, and he asked, "What brings you to the university?" I said, "We are here to get admission." So, to my surprise, there was a big heap of forms sitting on the floor at that time. Inside,
Right.
a big heap. He pointed. I said, "Pick any form and fill it, and just give it to me." I was really shocked at that time, and I immediately remember and compare with the my admission process when I was trying to get into like a science college or any Islamia college Lahore for the FSC. We have to stand like hours to take the admission form, but right here it's just like a pile of forms. So
Right.
I just fill in one form, and he told us, okay, uh, there will be a certain test and interview. After that, we have like a merit list, and if you are successful, if you pass that test into, you will be the one of the student of Islamic University. So to cut it short, I took the test and interview. When the list of successful candidate was pasted on the board, so I saw my name was at the bottom as a waiting waiting list. I was in
Right.
waiting list, so I immediately know that I'm done. I may they didn't I'm not qualified for that university. So we left. I left back. We go home. So I believe classes started first September. Uh, our academic year started. So I did not hear anything from university. So I said, okay. So, but one thing always, I felt when first time that was my first time I went out beyond Lahore. I never traveled from beyond Lahore in my entire life since that was my maiden, journey. But I fell in love in Islamabad. I wanted to go there. I wanted to reside there. I want to work there, but I did not get any letter from university acceptance letter. Classes start in September, and I was looking at different options. 15, I still remember. University sent me a letter for the acceptance.
15th of September.
15 already two weeks have already passed. So I rushed back to Islamabad, and I have only one briefcase with a few shirts and one pants and other necessary items. So I go to Islamabad. I go to the admin department and do all the paperwork, and I deposited the fees. Khwaja Sahab, I stayed, Gulzar Khwaja Sahab was the director at that time. And he told me that we don't have accommodation at that time, so you will get later on. Then I went upstairs to give a courtesy call to our director, Dr. Sayyid Tahir Saab was the director at that time, or dean, whatever you say. So he met me with very, very friendly way. And I told him, I said, I just got the admission. I just did all the paperwork, just a courtesy call. So let me go home so I can bring my baggage so I can start formally my education. So Tahir Saab said, Bhai Saab, ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? आप तो पहले ही बहुत late हो गए. He grabbed my hand. I said, let's go and let's attend the class. Let me introduce to the class. I was really agitated. I say, I'm not mentally prepared. But he took me to the class. He opened the door, and there was 25, I still remember my 25 student, various nationalities. And there was a big guy, a big fat guy, Dr. Hamad Ismail. He was teaching some kind of basic, like Arabic lesson. Or
Ibrahim Hamad.
Yeah, Ibrahim Hamad. Yeah, thank you for correcting me. So he was just giving them like a basic test or quizzes. So I sat in one of the empty chairs. I frankly speaking, I didn't know what is happening. And after a few minutes, Dr. Hamad Saab, he approached me and he asked me, what's up? I said, I'm a newcomer. I didn't know much about Arabic. So he dragged one chair and sat beside me. I said, don't worry, brother. I will take care of you. And he started teaching me like a basic, like a small kid. And he started me. So I was very impressed by that, his gesture, because he knew English as well. There was only one person I have seen in entire Arabic faculty. That's the person who can speak very fluently. So then after that, class after class after class after class. And when the classes are finished, I went downstairs. I was in the lobby. That was my first, and I was totally wondering as to what should I do? I don't have place to go. I don't, where should I stay? So then all of a sudden, one guy started approaching me. His name was Chaudhry Aslam Sahib. He's he was a senior student of LLM at that time, or LLB. Yeah, LLB. So after introduction, I told him, I say, I'm a newcomer and I was not expecting to attend classes unless I have accommodation. I don't have any much luggage with me, bag and baggage. And Dr. Tahir Saab won't let me to go out, to go back to my village to take my, to get my, all those stuff. He started laughing. I said, brother, don't worry about that. He took me to his room. He said, here's your bedroom. You can stay as long as they don't have any, they get you the hostel accommodation. And then he took me to the mess and I ate like a food. It was a dinner, I think. And in this way, it was my first experience in that.
Fascinating. Dr. Sayyid Tahir, he you would have so many stories with him.
If you listen to his lecture at that time, his lecture was, he always go for the philosophy of the terminology or the subject. So in order to understand Dr. Tayyib, you need to have very, very profound knowledge of economics. Otherwise, it was very difficult to comprehend Dr. Tayyib because he always his lecture was like that. You already know a lot about the economic subject. On the contrary, Dr. Muhammad Hussain Saab late. So Dr. Muhammad Hussain Saab was a very pleasant personality, and he used to, I still remember, he used to have a big, the like paimanas and other like a triangle stuff. And he will used to make like a very, very basic figures in a very beautiful way. And he will explain like you are teaching to like a matriculated students like that. So in a very easy manner. On the other hand, Dr. Fahim Saab, I had a chance to have a lecture from Dr. Fahim Saab. Dr. Fahim Saab were very tough during the class, but interestingly, when he gave us the test, that test usually used to be a very, very simple test, and everybody would pass that. That was the first time I've seen like that kind of strategy. And during class, it was very strict, very disciplined. And I used to enjoy his company or his lecture. On top of that, there was one other person who shaped my vague idea of economics and polished me. It was the Dr. Abdul He treated me like a younger brother, and he spent a lot of time with me. He would just invite me to the central library. Where was the separate rooms up there.
Was he your teacher or he was a senior?
No,
student?
First he was our senior. Then he become when we start in third year, he become like a teacher. The overall environment of the university, it really fascinated me. Every person. I mean, the first time I have that kind of freedom in my lifetime. Before though, in the school. The villager schools, they always make us to murga and just, and slap on face or some other parts of the body, that. So we don't have any kind of like a cordial relationship with those between teachers and students. So first time in my, lifetime when I joined the university, I feel like at home. All the students, all the teachers, we sit together, we gossip together, we ate together, and they deliver us, and they treat us like a younger brother. That is one of the fascinating aspect of that, my university life.
Your life, if I remember, okay, it was not just around studies. Okay, you led a very complete, comprehensive kind of life. Beyond studies only. I believe you were involved in the mess management, the management of dining hall. When I went to the university, I was actually very disappointed with the food. Food in Islamabad, Rawalpindi area cannot be compared with what we used to have in Lahore. I went to government college Lahore, and the kind of food Lahore would offer you would not find this in Islamabad. Yes, so you were in the mess management. I'm sure you had a lot of issues with the students, with the vendors, and satisfying everyone must have been a difficult task.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. It was really a gigantic job. So there's a very interesting story. It happens during that period. We used to live in Karachi company. As a newcomer student, we were accommodated in the basement, and basement was so like damp and very, very in a bad shape, smelly, and we used to agitate in a different way. I was a totally different method of agitation. It was not we go and chant like slogan. No, we tease our seniors who are living in upper levels. We make a big gang. And one of them was my colleague, perhaps you know that, Baba Abdul Qadir. He used to we just gave him a duty. So like at 9, 10 in the evening, he would go and turn off the main switch of plaza. Then we start banging doors on, throwing different kind of lotas or whatever we have in our hand. And that was an everyday session. Having said that, so one, as a routine, one student from Saudi Arabia, he got admission in university, and as a routine, he was also allotted one of the room in Karachi company. In the evening, I still remember we prepared a chicken curry at that time with chapatis. So that gentleman came and ate dinner. And within no time, he fell down on the floor, unconsciously. So we took him to the polyclinic, and doctor, after my clinical exam, he declared that his stomach was totally injured, badly injured, basically, due to spicy food, which needs a little bit surgical procedure. So I remember that time, and then we decided, no, we have to have two separate meals. So we started one meal for the foreign student with no spices, and other meal for the Punjabi or Pakistani students. That was one of the memory I still recall.
Right. I'm very happy that you were not sued for that one.
Yeah, that's indeed.
Right. Another thing I would like to ask, I have experienced this thing myself, although we were 1 year junior to you, but the overall culture was almost the same for different batches. We used to use a very new kind of language, a language which was combination of Arabic, English, and probably Urdu as well. The kind of language we would use to communicate, because at that time, the proportion of Pakistani students in the university was no more than 20%, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Most of these students, they were overseas students.
That's correct. Yeah.
So would you like to narrate some of the incidences, linguistic incidences?
Thank you very much. You make me remind all those stuff. I have a lot of pleasant moment. I don't mean to offend anybody, but it was really, really very interesting. Let me explain first what kind of language we used to have. Then I will quote some examples and you will understand why. Basically, the Arabic teacher, they don't know they cannot utter even a single word of English, most of the teachers. And on the other hand, we are totally blank regarding spoken Arabic. So there was a big gap. So we used to end up all the time a miscommunications, or sometime गलतफहमियां पैदा हो जाती थी.
Right.
So there was a one. So with mutual efforts, we really designed a new language. It's called international language. It's most of the sentences are made up by improvise. Basically, it's an improvisation. So English with the patches of Arabic word, and on top of that, we use our hand, or like that. And then number 4, we have a one word, magic word. It's a fill in the blank, yani. So sometimes a guy start talking and he will use the word yani 100 times, too many times, unless the other person say, "Naam, I understand." So that kind of stuff. So let me give you the example how we, was facing that kind of intrigue situation. So we used to have one teacher, and a tall guy, and I still remember one of his eye was not synchronized with other eye, something. So he used to teach us kind of grammar or kind of stuff. So one day, he and we have my colleague, he is in Islamabad, Farooq Islamabad, from Islamabad. So as we said on the class, when the class started, so he asked question to Farooq. I said, Farooq, لماذا كنت غائبا بالأمس?
Right.
Farooq was just looking like someone interpreter. He's asking why you are absent yesterday. He said, yeah, Ustad, anta marid. The moment he said, yeah, Ustad, he jumped on his feet. He was a little bit very impulsive. I said, Kif, stand up. And frankly speaking, I'm just giving. He had no idea what he was asking for. He's Kif. And he was just हवनकों की तरह देख रहा है. किसी ने उससे बताया कि फारूक खड़े हो जाओ. So he stand up. इससे उखरज मिनल गुरफा, उसको बाहर निकाल दिया. तो वो उसके बाद लोगों ने उसको कहा कि it didn't mean that, he didn't know that, he was sick, that's why he, okay, let's bring him down, that kind of stuff. So I still remember one day he was doing some presi. He was teaching us presis, like a talkhis. So he wrote down the kull mu'minun yarjuna ila al-Makkah li'adai faridatul hajj fi kulli amin.
Right.
So अब उसने ये लिख दिया. अब मैं जरा उर्दू में जरा बता दूं ताकि थोड़ा सा इसमें वो हो जाए.
Right.
I want to express. So अब वो हर एक जो क्लास में स्टूडेंट से one by one नेम लेके वो पूछ रहे थे. लाखिस. तो जब कोई भी उसकी तलखीस करता, वो बड़ी ऊंची आवाज में कहता ला. चलो जी नेक्स्ट. जो भी करता वाला, आखिर मेरी बारी आ गई. I was a backbencher and मुझे कहा या रशीद लाखिस. तो अब मैं उसकी वो कैसे उसका वो तलखीस कर रहा हूँ. वो बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग था. मैंने कहा कि कुल्लु मोमिनुन यरजूना इलल मक्का ले यरजूना मक्का ले फरीदतिन हज फी कुल्ले शहर. अब आम को मैंने तलखीस कर दी शहर. इसे ला लखिस मर्रत उखरा. दोबारा. अब मैंने कहा इसको और तलखीस कर देते हैं. अब फ्रैंकली स्पीकर, आई वाज नॉट जोकिंग. मैंने उसको और तलखीस कर दिया. मैं कहा कुल्लुल मोमिनीन यरजूना इला मक्का लिअदाई फरीदतुल हज फी कुल्ली यौमिन. अब पहले मैंने एक महीना, उसके बाद एक दिन पे ले आया. लो जी, उस्ताद साहब ने ये सुनना था. He jumped on his feet. So he कहता किफ, ये उसका वर्ड था. खड़ा हो गया. कहता उखरज मिनल गुरफा. हम बाहर चले गए. तो लोगों ने कहा यार ये बेचारा जो ना, इसको अरबी नहीं आती. वो जो हमारे उस्ताद थे वहाँ जो पहले तुरम खान, उन्होंने कहा कि ये इसकी ये ना, इसका ये जवाब उसकी जहालत पर मबनी है, आप प्लीज इसको माफ कर दो. उसके बाद वो हमारा दोस्त बन गया. मतलब इस तरह की गलतफहमियां बहुत ज्यादा होती थी. I still remember when he was leaving the university. One day he came to the university and he announced, hey, this is my last day, I'm going back to Egypt. अब हर बंदा उसकी बड़ी तारीफ कर रहा है कि हम आपको बड़ा मिस किया है, बड़ा ये है वो तारीफ कर रहे हैं सारे. तो मुझे मुखातिब मेरे बड़े दोस्त बन गए थे उसके बाद. इस इंसिडेंट के बाद मैं पहले बैक बेंचर था, वो मुझे आगे बैठा लेते थे. कहता है यार रशीद उरीद शायतैन, मुझे दो चीजें चाहिए. तो मैंने कहा बताएं क्या चाहिए. कहते हैं उरीद शजरा मलकतुल लैल व अर्नब. अब मलकतुल लैल शजरा वो तो एक इजी वर्ड था कि शजरा नहीं. अब शजरा इस्तेमाल ये है, दरख्त है, प्लांट है. मलकतुल लैल क्या है? तो कुछ एक बंदे ने पीछे से आवाज लगाई कि रात की रानी की बात कर रहे हैं भाई. तो उन्होंने कहा हाँ रात की रानी, जी जी वो मिल जाएगा जी, मिल जाएगा. वसानियन अर्नब. अब अर्नब पे अड़ गए हम सारे. अब जो ना हर बंदा अपनी वो सोच के घोड़े दौड़ा रहा है. अर्नब क्या है? वो हर एक बाइक, हर बंदा जाता है उस पे ग्रीन बोर्ड पे वो कुछ तस्वीरें बनाता है. हमें ये पता चल गया कि ये जानवर है, लेकिन कौन सा जानवर है वी डिडंट नो दैट. एवरीबॉडी कोई ना कोई जाके वहां बनाता है. वो कहता है ला ला ला. इस तरह करते रहे तो अचानक जो ना एक बंदे ने पीछे से आवाज लगाई पंजाबी में. वो कहता है खरगोश की गल पे कर देने. तो कहता हाँ है या खरगोश. So there was so many kind of stuff we used to have, like and there was another very pleasant incident happened. You know, Dr. Khaja Ihtisham Khaja Sahab, he
That's
was an
right.
English teacher. He was one of my favorite teacher. He used to arrange seats in a half circle in the class, and his lecture was so interactive. And normally he was he was critics of those Pakistani culture of lawlessness and civic sense. He used to talk on that for hours. So one day he was just giving a lecture, and he narrated one brief story. He said, I was going to a Fatehjang. Fatehjang was an ancestral village. He said I was going to Fatehjang. He was driving to the Fatehjang, and people on motorbikes and cycles, they never care about the traffic. They were just breaking traffic rules. They do not go in order, just driving zigzags, with much difficulty for the other traffic. So he said I was traveling on the road and there was no sign. And all of a sudden, some majis was crossing the road. And I hardly escaped that accident. अच्छा, इस बात के बाद अब मैं वो बताता हूँ कि हमारे दोस्त हैं अब्दुल कदीर फितरत साहब, ही वाज एक्स गवर्नर ऑफ स्टेट बैंक ऑफ काबुल. तो वो मेरा रूममेट भी था, मेरा बड़ा अच्छा दोस्त था. तो वो मेरे पास आया, वो 2-3 दिन बाद आया कि रशीद साहब एक बात पूछनी थी आपसे. मैंने कहा गो अहेड. कहते वो उस दिन ख्वाजा साहब ने एक वर्ड यूज किया था मजी. And he said, believe me, I go through every dictionary and every lugat, every munjat. Why couldn't find that word? What does it mean? I cracked laughing. I said, it means buffaloes, man. No, maji mean buffalo. It's a Punjabi word. I said, why he was using Punjabi? He said, you just create a little bit like a comedy. Otherwise, so that kind of stuff we used to have we have been facing all the time. That's why we just created that kind of international language, and we do that kind of stuff all the time.
I believe Abdul Qadir Fitrat was a very close friend of yours.
Yeah, he was my buddy. Well, that's the only foreigner student which is still we have a constant contact with each other. He's living in Washington.
Right. Yeah. Now, he is one of the most distinguished 85 Walas.
Yeah.
He became governor of the Central Bank of Afghanistan, and he's very well regarded.
Very well regarded.
And he was one of your very close friends.
Qadir Fitrat was he migrated basically he escaped from Kabul during the war. And he reached Pakistan on foot, basically.
Oh.
And his story is very, very adventurous and very, very a dangerous story. And he used to live with me, and he was very keen to learn things. When he joined university, he did not know even a single word of English. But when he graduated, he was one of the best narrator in English. And nobody knows much about him, but because I was living with him almost 3 years in a row.
Right.
And he was a best writer, and he used to, do like tarjum of Maulana Madudi Saab's work. And he used to write down. He was a storyteller. He was very, very famous amongst the masses of Afghan, youngsters. And he used to tell me, I say, Rashid bhai, dekho meri itni fellowship hai, bahut sari ladkiyan bhi khat likhti thi. तो वो अगर मुझे देख लें, क्योंकि वो थोड़ा सा उसका एक आंख का मसला था, वो कहता अगर मुझे देख लो तो शायद मुझे ना पसंद करें. मैंने कहा ऐसी बात नहीं है. It's not you, it's your work basically. They are just appreciating. और मेरी क्लास में हाफिज मकसूद साहब थे, बड़ी माशाल्लाह बड़े इम्पल्सिव किस्म के, माशाल्लाह बड़े जबरदस्त किस्म के और बड़े जोशीले थे. आसिफ लुकमान थे, नियाजी थे, अपना जुल्फकार नियाजी थे, महमूद इकबाल, he is living in Canada. Hafiz GM, he's in I think he's an FPSC, a deputy director or additional director. So there are too many, and everyone was a different, have a different background, personality, and I was lucky. I have a lot of friends. Everyone, whether it's in Sharia, whether it's in economics, whether it's in others, all of them, we were like brothers. And the one thing always fascinated me about the university, that the teachers, the behavior of teachers, it was so like a friendly. I have never seen them. I enjoy a lot on that.
I'm sure we can talk for hours
Yeah.
about university and the interesting things we did and we were
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of. However, I would like to end this interview here with my last question. And I think without that question, your interview would have been incomplete.
Sure, sure.
I did not have this experience of studying from Dr. Shaukat Niazi. However, I remember that he was known as a terror. Okay. You know, he used to come from outside the university and everyone would be scared of him. He would make a point to scare the students. However, you were his favorite student. How come?
Yeah, that's a very interesting story. Basically, we were lucky enough. We have a senior faculty members. I may repeat again, from Dr. Tahir Sayyed to Dr. Fahim Saab. All of them was so good. So I will let me tell you a brief story about Dr. Munawwar Iqbal Saab. He was a very jolly man. He used to deliver us. He used to give a lecture on current issue of Islamic economics. So he has a very good habit. He was very sometimes, try to make the class alive, not boring. So he used to, fire like a small, like bits of anecdotes during his lecture. So one day, and he always tell, okay, so he made one rule. They say, when I was just doing, delivering like a talk, if someone has a question, he should raise his hand and just keep it down. So when I finish my like a sentence, then I will ask a question. So one day he was just delivering a lecture, and I just raised my hand and just keep it down, and he forgot. After a while, he remembered that Rashid just raised his hand. I said, Rashid, what's the question? मैंने कहा सर वो भूल गया. I don't remember. I said, कोई बात नहीं, जब दोबारा अगर याद आए तो आप बताओ. He started again. All of a sudden, I remembered that question. And instead of raising hand, I said, sir, aa gaya. So he answered me in a similar tone and spontaneously. He said, Rashid, foreign bathroom chala jao. So that was so every whole class was just laughing like that. So that kind of, we really enjoy Dr. Saab's lecture all the time. So you are talking, let's talk about the Dr. Shaukat. So we were lucky enough, we have outside faculties like Dr. Shaukat, Dr. Ishfaq Hassan Khan Saab, and all of them was so well versed with their subjects. And Dr. Shaukat Niazi Saab, I think we took two classes. One was the history of economics thought. He was so good in history of economics thought. I have never seen such kind of teacher before or after that. So he would deliver a lecture like in a very smooth way, in a very like a fluency. So in master class in MSc, he took a monetary theory. So they invited him to deliver a lecture monetary theory. So almost 25 to 30 people from from BS, from MS, and from PhD, they joined that. And really, he was a tough guy. He delivered lecture in a very good manner. But whenever he gave you a test, 50% people would fail, straightforward. and he never gave A or maximum B, C, or and that kind of stuff. So that class started, and after first, I think class test, half of the schools, students, they failed.
Oh.
They could not pass it. So they dropped the classes. So we have almost 10 or 15 students. The second test, almost everyone just dropped their class because it was so tough. But I took it as a challenge. I would record his, I would record his lecture on my tape recorder. I have a tiny tape recorder. I would go home and reproduce all the lecture, took the notes, and phone him, talk to him, and in this way he was a little bit impressed with me. So resultantly, only one teacher and one student left in that class. That was your brother Rashid and Dr. Shaukat Sahab. And IIIE management approached me. I say, okay, everybody dropped, you should drop it. So we are paying a lot of money to Dr. Saab. So, I mean, it's not practical. I said, no, I will finish my class. So now Dr. Shaukat Saab, one day he said, yaar, तुम जो है ना एक हफ्ते में पूरा लेक्चर ले लिया करो, उसके बाद जो है ना वो देखी जाएगी. तो इस तरह whenever he's free, he will call me, I come over here, I can deliver your lecture. Or sometime I'm busy, I say, okay, sir, Dr. Saab is kal aa jaye, aaj nahi aaye. So like that, we have arrangement. And in this way, we develop a very, very good relationship. And I passed that. He gave me a in that Monty theory. And after that, he became a very, very good friend of mine. Basically, he declared, you are my, like a younger brother. He became my family member. And till his death, we used to have interaction with him. So that's the thing, yeah.
Excellent. Rashid bhai, you have a magnetic personality. It wasn't just Dr. Shaukat Niazi. I can tell you that all your friends from your batch and a lot of your seniors and your juniors, including me, we have not only great respect for you, but we actually fondly love you as well.
Thank you very much.
You are a pride of IIIE. You were an excellent student, full of life. And after you finished your studies at IIIE, you became a shining star in the civil service and afterwards as well. I personally am very proud of this fact that I am talking to you today. And those who would be watching this episode number 2 of the IIIE School of Economics Alumni Interview Series, they would enjoy it as well. So with this, I would like to thank you. And I'm sure other people who are going to watch this episode, they are going to enjoy it and they would be thankful to you for sharing these wonderful memories.
Thank you very much.
Rahmatullahi.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi. Thank you very much.